What if you are a lesbian, but you are married to a man? Welcome to the Goddess Power Show. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and our amazing guest is exactly that description. She is living and loving on her own terms in a unique manner, and that is the mission of the show to help you decide how you want to live and love on your own terms and experience your heart's wildest desires. So I want you to meet her. Her name is Eugenia, and she is amazing. Welcome, Eugenia.
Thank you so much for that cool introduction.
You're welcome. When I first talked with you and you told me this, I'm like, I must interview you because I think that your story and your life will give permission to other women that we do not have to follow society's restrictive, oppressive template on how we should live and love in terms of our our identity and our sexual preferences. And so you have the courage and the confidence and the creativity to create your own way to live and love. So can you just give us an overview of what does it mean to be a hetero married lesbian?
Sure. Well, I think the main thing is deciding that you want to live honestly for yourself, realizing that even with a partner, ultimately at the end of the day, it's just you. And you have to be comfortable. But I happen to find what I would call cornily the my soulmate at a very young age, and I got married at a very young age. I was 16 when I got married. My mother had to sign for me to get married
To a man.
to a man,
Mhm.
to a man who grew up on the same street as I did. And so I didn't discover that I loved women until 3 years actually into my marriage. And because I wanted an honest relationship and I wanted to be with somebody who respected me as an individual person, I already had a foundation set up where I could express how I was feeling. And so um I just went on this journey and first off read a bunch of stuff, read everything I could find to see what applied to me. But I was already an independent person being so young, and being
Mhm.
married, and it's
Right.
funny because going through the process of getting married at such a young age, the first thing people said was, "Are you pregnant?" Which,
Oh.
why are you getting married? Are you running away from something? And
Mhm.
I was getting married because I was in love. And it was just that simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you at the time when you were 16 and you married your husband, you did not realize that you were a lesbian yet. That happened 3 years later, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it was actually your husband who helped you identify this. Can you just take us to that moment that you had described to me where he sort of opened your mind to, in your eyes, to what was your reality?
Yeah, yeah. I guess he had noticed for a while that I was paying a lot of attention to women, just random women, I guess. And one day he just asked, like, "Wow, you're really staring at that woman. What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm just looking at her outfit." And he was like, "Well, no, she's not wearing anything particularly great. So is there something else going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And we kind of conversation just left. And then we were watching a talk show, and the talk show was about alternative lifestyles and how different couples lived. And we both said, wow, that is a possibility and that's cool if you can be that comfortable with your partner to go outside the norm. And as far as being attracted to other people, your hormones don't turn off because you're married, you still find other people attractive. And would that be okay for us to talk about that and openly talk about that and acknowledge that? And so then after that conversation and after seeing that show, I'm like, wow, I do really like women. And then thinking back over friendships and how some of my friendships were actually closer than they should be. His thing was always like, okay, imagine two men acting the way you are acting with your friends. Do you think that would be acceptable? Then that something is different because
Mhm.
as women, it's easier for us to get away with being closer and touching and a
Right.
little bit more intimate. And I don't mean
Yes.
intimate as sexually, but just intimate in
Yeah.
general with each other.
Right. For sure.
So it's easy to hide behind that or
Mhm.
to ignore that or to pretend like that's not what's going on. And he's like,
Mhm.
replace women with two men. And if you
Mhm.
think that that wouldn't be acceptable for them, then
Mhm.
something else is
Mhm.
going on. And so
Mhm.
then I just started to pay attention and it just opened up.
I love that. I love that. So let's emphasize to the listeners and viewers that this was several decades ago when you
Yes.
were 19 and having this revelation. And I also want to address some questions about, so some people might say, well, if you're married to a man and you like women, you're bisexual. What's your answer?
Well, he is the only man that I've ever been with and the only man that I've ever been sexually attracted to. I mean,
Okay.
I can see men and say, "Oh, he's a good-looking guy, he's attractive," but not feel any sexual or desire to be closer to them. But
Mm-hmm.
women, it's that's a whole nother thing. I walk in a room and I can tell you what every woman looked like and what she had on, and somebody might say, "Well, what about the guys?" And I'd be like, "There were guys there." So, I
Oh.
mean, I know intrinsically that I love women, and
Uh-huh.
you know, and I don't feel the same about men. So
Mm-hmm. That's why you
that
call
just,
yourself a lesbian.
yes, because he just happened to be. I mean, because I think with, everybody says it, it's a spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
sexuality. And I think that anybody could find, someone of the opposite that might be. And I just happen to be lucky enough to find the one person, the one guy that matched.
Yeah, you're very lucky. So let me just share. I know lots of women who are bisexual, and the men get super threatened by their attraction to women. So there's that. Other guys just think it's like a porn fantasy. Oh, I got to have threesomes, and we're going to bring another girl in here, and that'll be fun. And then
Yeah,
the other thing is that some bisexual women choose to be monogamous to the man because that's just the norm of what's expected. And I think it's super unfair. And ultimately, when one suppresses that desire, it is going to explode out big later. It,
absolutely.
it might
Absolutely.
take decades, but it's there and it's coming out. So, what I love about you, Eugenia, is you're doing it. You are showing an example of having a partner, a male partner that you love, who's your best friend. You're very grounded, you have that foundation, and yet you are able to, you're free to love women. So, how does that work when you have a husband and you're dating a woman?
Well, first of all, you have to be with someone you can't be selfish, who is not selfish, who is not jealous. If there's any part of you that's jealous or that partner, it won't work. It just won't. So luckily, I have someone, and same with me. I'm not that's not jealous. That wants to see me happy and accepts the full all of me, not just certain parts of me, not certain parts of me to just support him, but
Mm-hmm.
parts that make me who I am. And so if I meet someone and I'm dating someone, I'm, gonna say, hey, I'm going out, or I'm free to be. I mean, you can almost say a single person, but there's still things that are still expected and respectful. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
say I'm going out with someone and we leave a restaurant and go to a bar, or it's like 11:30 at night or 12 o'clock. Hey, I'm still out. I'm gonna be later than I thought, or hey, I'm not coming home till tomorrow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. Um, I mean, I guess it's not simple, but it is simple
Uh-huh.
in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, are you able to, I mean, this is just mind-blowing to me. Like, you can just meet a new person. Hey, I'm going out. And isn't that phrase called compersion, where you love somebody so much, you just want them to be super happy and with no jealousy? How do you not feel jealous? And how does he not feel jealous?
I think too that goes with being best friends, and how
Mm.
that any relationship you need to be with your best friend.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We want to be together. I don't need him. He doesn't need me. We We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to need each other. We want to be together.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since we're best friends, if I'm doing something that's going to make me happy, he's all for that. And the same with
Uh-huh.
him. Um,
Uh-huh.
not besides the fact that it contributes to the relationship and the fact of having something else to talk about, having something
Mm-hmm.
else to share. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've been married this July will be 39 years,
Oh my
but we've been
gosh.
together for 42,
Oh my
but we've been
goodness.
together for 39 years. So 30, so 20 years we've been living in this
Uh-huh.
dynamic. And so, it's just funny. I mean, sometimes he'll call me on his lunch break at work. It's like, oh my God, I just saw your wife. I just saw
Oh.
the perfect woman for you. Oh my God. Like, did you get
Oh.
her number? He's like, no, I didn't.
Oh.
It's just something else to talk about. And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like, but back to your question, I mean, I just love seeing him happy. He loves seeing me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could be with someone else who can make us happy like that, what's wrong with that?
So does he date other people as well?
No, he can if he wanted to.
Uh-huh.
He's dated maybe two other women
Uh-huh.
in all of this time,
Oh.
separate from me,
Uh-huh.
for very short periods of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of them was actually interested in me, but I just wasn't interested in her.
Oh, well, that leads to the next question. Do you two date a woman together?
Yes, we have.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Okay. That's exciting, right? Tell me about that, please.
Well, yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, it's ultimately what I that's the best possible situation for me. I mean, just giving an example of one relationship that we were in with a woman, and this relationship lasted for like 5 years. And it was great because like she was into electronic things. So they would go off to uh what is that? Best Buy and hang out at Best Buy. It was great because I got to be at home by myself watching my murder mysteries
Uh-huh.
or reading.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't feel like it them two together was great because then I didn't feel like, oh, I should do something. I should do that with him because
Mm-hmm.
that's not fair. He's doing it by himself. I didn't, I could, it's like I could be selfish
Mm-hmm.
because somebody else was there paying attention to him while I could just do my own thing. And then
Oh.
vice versa. And then,
Uh-huh.
you know, there were things that she was into fashion like I am. And so we would do fashion things. And so and not to mention, I mean, just as far as having two people to love on you, like, or to be
Ooh.
out somewhere and to see them two dancing and know that they're both coming home with me and they're both gonna lavish me with just as much love. So it's kind of
Ooh.
a nice selfish thing
Oh my gosh,
at the same
that's
time. So and like I said, when you have two people who are concerned about you, it's really nice
mm-hmm.
to have that kind of dynamic and
That
not getting jealous because like I said again, I see these two people that I think are beautiful and lovely and who I like making each other happy.
Mm, that's amazing. I mean, letting go of that sort of possessive territorial dynamic in relationships, which goes both ways between men and women, is really powerful. So I hope you can, serve as an example to others that it's possible because that jealousy, like you said, it won't work if there's jealousy or resentment, where one person might feel excluded, but you feel empowered and you get to have your solitude during that time. That's amazing.
Exactly. And then I mean that's the same, for any relationship. I mean my friends who are in two, just regular quote unquote regular relationships, they have to deal with that. And it's like you can't because I mean you don't own anybody as much as you say we own each other, or I'm yours or you're about you're not.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're not.
Wow, that's so interesting.
But also, I'm sorry.
No, please.
I'd like to point out that when we are in a relationship together with someone, it is exclusive to us. It's not like some people might say, oh well, it's just like a poly thing or polyamorous thing. It's not because we're not just dating randomly or not. I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but when we are committed, we're committed in that situation.
Uh-huh. Meaning when you and your husband are dating a woman together, there's no other dating other people.
Correct.
Okay, okay, excellent. And then how long do these relationships last? Like how does it start and then how does it end?
Well, the we've had three relationships that were 4 years or more, and it was always initiated by the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Just being working with someone or being friends with someone and then hanging out and it developed into something.
Mm-hmm.
But in one in two instances, it was family related
Mm.
because they couldn't reconcile our relationship with their family because their family
Oh.
did not want this. It was too different. It was, and you can kind of understand some of the things like, oh, they're gonna get tired of you, or they're just using you, or you're this and you're that, and so you can, I can understand some families' concerns, you know,
So those
but
relationships ended because the other woman's families put pressure on them
put
to say,
ultimatums
"Oh,
like I will disown you.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
wow,
yeah, 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 yeah. So
that's
that's kind of
awful.
like I can't be mad at them
Oh, that's
choosing
terrible.
family over,
Right,
you know what I mean? I mean,
right.
me personally, there was one side of my family that I didn't speak to for 7 years because of the difficulty they had with my lifestyle.
Oh,
But that was something for them to get over, not me. So I was
hmm.
fine with that. But I can't,
Oh,
but I wouldn't, make another person make the same decision that I did.
oh,
So,
wow.
and then the another one was just they personally had an issue with the lifestyle. They felt uncomfortable living in the lifestyle because I'm very open. We're very open and honest about our situation or our
So how,
relationship.
okay. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions, but I hope you can't hear the lawnmower outside.
Uh-uh.
Okay, good. Of course they're doing it right now, but um what about how did you reconcile the conflict with your own family?
I just said, hey, this is just who I am, and which has nothing to do with you. I mean, it's a my own personal intimate relationship, which doesn't have anything to do with you as my family member. You're not a part of that my life. Even as me and my husband, you're not privy to what's going on in that. So if you don't have any say so or in that, why should you have it any, in this situation? And I know that I'm a great person. I'm loyal and I'm supportive and I know I'm a good person.
Hmm.
And if what I do personally, privately, affects how you see me, then there's something wrong with you, not me. And
Mm,
either you're gonna accept me back because I'm somebody you would want in your life, and if you decide not to, then that's your loss.
hmm.
Because,
Ooh,
like I said, at the end of the day, I have to live with and
right.
my choices. Even, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? If I do what you want and I'm miserable, I blame how do I live with that? I can't blame you. You're not gonna make it better. I'm the only person that can make my life good or bad.
That is the bottom line here. Thank you so, so much because that is an issue. People's families are disapproving. So, did your family finally come around?
Yeah, that side of the
Okay.
family too. Mhm.
Okay. So that's your personal life. Now, people have fears about the professional consequences of living an alternative. That's what it's called, but
Yeah.
choosing to live outside of the traditional, conventional restrictions. And so, what's your advice to anybody about worrying about how it could affect their career in a bad way?
Um, well, as a young person, up until probably about 15 years ago, I was in a very creative field and
Mm-hmm.
I was always in the creative spaces. And as you know, in creative spaces, there are a lot of people who live differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when I worked in a restaurant, even when I was like a waitress, when I was really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
Although one guy one time met my girlfriend and said, "It's so unfair for you two to be together because you don't have kids and you guys have your stuff together. and it's hard for men to find women. So you being together,
Oh my gosh.
it's like
That's
even if
so
we,
twisted.
oh, even if we were together, what makes you think we would be with you? But anyway,
Right,
and
exactly.
then years later, I had a job that was more conservative, and I didn't share it because I wasn't quote unquote necessarily friends with these people. So that part of my
Oh.
life, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't affect our friendship in any way. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel the need to tell them something that I know they probably wouldn't agree with. And it's not like they would be people that I would be talking to about the subject anyway. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, they didn't need to know.
Okay, okay. But then for those who work in a more conservative environment and there's the company Christmas party and oh, I want to bring my husband and my girlfriend. What do you do?
I wouldn't unless you're gonna say this unless you want to live out like that. I wouldn't because I don't think that you not acknowledging a part of your life that's gonna to people who you don't care about in that way is important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's your friends and family, yes, because those people are a part of your life, they're important to you, they're personal. But someone at the office, like, do you really care for them to know your spouse? Do you care that much about them where
Wow.
you need their approval or if they're ever going to see your spouse or your partner or your girlfriend? No.
Uh-huh.
So who
Uh-huh.
cares?
I love it, love
That's
it,
how
love
I
it.
think.
Okay, you just that word approval. Can you talk about how it's most important for us to approve of ourselves and what we truly desire and not care or seek that approval externally because many women especially are programmed to be good girls, to be people pleasers, to seek
Mm.
approval and disapproval, conflict and rejection are like horrible consequences to many women. So how do you say I approve of myself and I don't care what others think?
Um, that's hard because, and I know exactly what you mean because I have been a people pleaser before.
Mhm.
Like you said, women are trained that way. Like you don't ask for promotions if they say, "Oh, you're doing a good job." You're like, "Yeah," like that.
Yeah,
Almost, you don't even think about the money aspect or the fact that you're doing extra things. You're just so happy to be acknowledged. So
right.
I know that's a real thing,
Hmm.
but I guess I just think that personally, because in my life and being around different people from different persuasions, when you hide a major part of yourself, which is who you choose to love, it has really bad consequences on every aspect of your life.
Mm.
And not being authentic to yourself all the way around it's a confidence killer,
Hmm.
and it makes you make choices that you wouldn't necessarily make. I mean,
Mm.
even if, like you said, even if you don't want to like necessarily come out to your family or even at work, you still need to do self-reflection and live in the truth for yourself,
Hmm.
even if you have to do it separately, away from everything else. You still have to acknowledge it,
Hmm.
because it will. I've been in so many situations where I've known a lot of people who've hidden things and who have caused them to be in really bad relationships because they're trying
Oh.
to avoid what they really want.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm just,
that's true because I know a lot of lesbians who are divorced with multiple kids.
oh, because they married a man?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
they were so willing to get, and not even just a man, just not a good man, because they were so busy running from their truth and what they
Oh.
really felt.
Hmm.
And that's why I said you can't deny yourself how you really feel because it just comes out in other
Hmm.
ways.
Yes, yes, yes. So
And
do
it's hard, but
very. Very hard. Eugenia, do you have any tips for a woman like to just do some self-searching, self-soul searching about figuring out? I mean, time is ticking. We're not getting any younger. And it's like, do it now and not regret going the rest of your life not living your truth. Whatever that truth may be, what are your tips for that?
I think reading other women's stories is a good
Uh-huh.
way to start.
Uh-huh.
Also, think about the relationships in your circle or in your family. That was one of the things on one side of my family. When they were so disapproving. At that point, I'm like, I've been married longer than all of you. So why am I
Woo!
listening to what you have to
Yeah.
say about how a person should be? Because their problem wasn't the fact that I liked women. It was the problem. It was because I was still married and I stayed married.
Oh.
That was their real issue because it was
Uh-huh.
just so far off of left field. But I'm like, I've been
Uh-huh.
married longer than all of you. So what can you tell me
Uh-huh.
about marriage? How can you dictate to me? So I think if you pay attention to people who have successful relationships. And most of the time, people who have really good relationships are equals and see each other as equals and let
Mm-hmm.
each other have their own lives separate so that you can
Mm-hmm.
contribute to the
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think reading first and then looking around at people that relationships that you admire and seeing that and that will help you realize what you really want from a
Uh-huh.
partner or partners
Mm-hmm.
out of life and then go from there.
I love it. I love it. And here's the juicy tidbit for everybody. Eugenia is writing a book. So you are going to get a firsthand look at all the juicy details of her
There's been some
life.
wild experiences. So yeah.
Ooh, can't wait to hear about that. So exciting. But your mission behind sharing this is to help other women awaken to their truth, give themselves permission to live and love as they truly desire, and step out into the world as their authentic selves. And guess what? When you do that, the world rewards you in ways you can't even imagine. Like money comes, opportunities, experiences. It's amazing how when you have that energetic shift inside yourself, the
Mhm.
world responds and rewards you in ways that you can't even measure. And it was like unleashing an energetic block. It's
Mhm.
really, really powerful and miraculous when it happens, but you have to find the courage and confidence to do it. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said before, it's about when you're your true authentic self, that so much confidence comes from that. And like you said,
Yes.
from then you move on and you can do things in all aspects of your life.
Yes, yes. So, Eugenia, I would love for you to leave us on a juicy tidbit of something like how do you set the parameters around the relationship? So, for example, if you're dating somebody, do you tell your husband, I'm spending the weekend with her. I'll see you Monday.
Yeah.
Can you do things like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Or
Uh-huh.
and he'll be like, good, because I didn't want to go anywhere anyway. I wanted to sit here and watch this kung fu movie.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I can say, yeah, I'm going away for the weekend, or I'm going out of town, or I'll be back, barring responsibilities that we may have together. But besides
Yes.
that, it's definitely I'm me and he's him and we're also together.
So for anybody who wants to emulate your what you're doing, did you all sit down and have like a talk about what are the rules, the parameters of what we're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be completely upfront and honest,
Mm-hmm.
even hard things. You can't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid to talk about hard things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if this happens? What if that person wants you more? How are you going to navigate that? Which is, some of the things that I'll also be sharing
Mm-hmm.
in the book. Like, what if what happens then? What
Mm-hmm.
happens if it's not good, or what happens if there's different scenarios, but you have to talk about everything.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
have to talk about everything.
Mm-hmm. Even the hard things.
Safety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
safety, that's
yeah.
huge.
You have to talk. The hard things are the most important things.
Uh-huh.
You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? It's really fun to go, oh, she's cute. Oh, she's cute. Yeah, yeah. That's all fun and great, but that you have to talk about the hard things more than the easy thing, the fun things.
Uh-huh.
Fun things
Uh-huh.
are going to be there, but
Mm-hmm.
in order and the mutual respect.
Yes,
But
yes.
respect, there's certain things that I'm not gonna do because it might be disrespectful.
Mm.
Because I respect him as much as I love him. I respect him, and he respects
Mm-hmm.
me. So there are
Mm-hmm.
things that are, you know,
Hmm. So, open, courageous communication and respect seem to be the two main ingredients in this experience.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Even more than love.
Yeah, yeah. Love and lust, those are there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But the really important things are mutual respect and communication,
Oh,
especially the hard things.
I love it. I love it. So, Eugenia, can you just end for our viewers and listeners on a tip for them to just really look in the mirror and decide, are they happy? Are they fulfilled? And what would fulfill them? And how do they achieve that?
Oh, well, just like we were saying that you have to have the hard questions, I mean hard discussions, you have to have that for yourself. Um, like think about what you would do if nobody cared. Like think about if you moved to a whole nother country, how would you live? Like who would you want to be around? Who would you talk to? Who
Wow.
would you want to go on a date with, really? If nobody knew you, if no family was around. I mean, I think that's why I've lived in California and I've also lived in New York. And the two things that stood out to me is the reason why those places seem to be so cool is because most people are transplants. So they don't have their family or their high school friends around to judge them. So they can just be open and be themselves because no one's watching and no one's judging. And so I think you have to think like if I was just completely separate from everything and everybody that knows me in quotation marks, how would I live my life?
Wow, that is profound. I love
Oh,
that. Anybody listening right now, and whether it pertains to your sexual desires or anything else about your life, even your career, if you I love this, how would you live and love, work, play, treat yourself, feel? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna do that exercise today and just I'm gonna journal about it and explore that question. I think I might be doing some things differently. Wow, that is really powerful. And on that note, I want to thank you, Eugenia, for sharing your incredible story. I hope that anybody listening or watching can feel that they now have an example, an inspiration, and get permission to do some self exploration and decide I need to do some things differently because life is short, the world is crazy, and now is the time to make that happen. What are you waiting for? Your
absolutely.
joy, your thrill, your pleasure, your passion, your fulfillment is waiting for you. So let's go for it. And let's use Eugenia's story and her wonderful words of wisdom today to take action, bold, aggressive action to live and love as you truly desire.
Thank
And
you so much, Elizabeth, for having this platform.
you're
It
welcome.
really is amazing.
Thank you, Eugenia. And guess what? You will be back to talk about your book when it's ready, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. I wish you the best. Have an amazing day. And thank you with all my heart and soul for joining me here on the Goddess Power Show with Elizabeth Ann Atkins.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome.